Well, good morning everyone. Welcome to Allotment. I thought I'd do a quick video this morning, mainly because quite a few things have been happening, and probably you'll notice quite a bit of difference since the last time I did one of these. So, have a quick wander around with you. Although it's a lovely sunny day today, and it's forecast to be gorgeous all weekend, it still gets quite cold at night, so some of the more tender seedlings are actually under cover still. I've got here radish, leaf salad and spinach, that's what's under here. So they're busy growing away. The radishes are doing particularly well, still just seedlings at the moment. And they're moving across some broccoli, some beetroot, some spring onions, some carrots and some parsnips, and they're all in various states. They don't need to be covered up, so I obviously haven't covered them up, but they do seem to be a little bit behind, probably because if they haven't got the extra heat that the ones under the plastic have got. Potato patch this year is here, and as you can see already potatoes are starting to come through, so I need to earth these up today, which is one of the jobs I'll be doing in a minute. And under the green netting there I've got some swede. I only sowed those last weekend, so I'm not quite sure how they're doing. I'll have a look in a minute. But basically used up all the potatoes, so thought, well, I would just fill that gap with another root veg. Didn't have a lot of luck with swede last year, so I'm hoping for better luck this year. Sown a lot of broad beans this year, which are just starting to come through. I've got, what have I got here, 6 rows. There's a few gaps, so I'm not sure whether they're just slow to germinate or whether the seeds just weren't viable. So I'm going to give them a little while, and then I might come through with a handful of extra seed and just fill in the gaps. But a big block, like broad beans, really tasty to eat, so a big block of those, hopefully we'll get a good crop. And normally I plant them in September or October, but last couple of years the winter's been so hard that they've not really done very well, so I figured I'd just sow them later this year, different variety than I normally use, and see how they get on. The onions, well, far more of a success story than they were this time last year. As you can see, we've got 7 rows of onions that were planted back in the autumn, mixture of yellow and red onions, and they're doing really well. Keep needing to get in and weed. I've just planted the rows just a little bit too close together, although the gaps between the rows are quite big, which could have been a little bit more spread out overall, might have been easier to cope with. And then shallots and more onions. Basically these were planted a lot later. The shallots were planted about 3 or 4 weeks ago at the same time, and these are heat treated mildew resistant onion sets. My plan, given the experience I had last year with the main crop, was that I figured, well, at least I'd have some more onions to put in if they didn't do very well. Fruit bed is slowly expanding, although I noticed there's a stray potato plant that's appeared. But basically I've decided that this little bit of ground that was on the end past the apple tree wasn't really, it was just being underused, so I figured I might as well convert the whole patch over to fruit. So I bought some more fruit plants, a red currant, a black currant, a blackberry, which is standing in the shadow of. This one here doesn't look like it's doing much, although you probably can't see there is a bud there, so I'm hoping it is going to do something. And then the raspberries and loganberries and gooseberries that have been here for some time, although I noticed that I do need to do a bit of pruning because a couple of them really aren't doing very well, so I should probably do that later this morning if I've got time. And then this patch here, which was dug over at last weekend and manured some time ago, is going to be runner beans, which I'm going to try and put the canes up for in a moment, marrow, sweet corn, and I've got some cauliflower plants which will go in next to the other green veg which is under the netting there, and there's cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower and kale I think is the mixture that's in there, and they're doing quite well now. They've kind of picked up in the last few weeks when we've had slightly better weather, so that's good. They weren't looking quite so good earlier in the year. So that's about it really. As I say, I've got bean sticks to put up, got my potatoes to earth up today. It's looking like the grass is starting to need a cut, so I might even get the mower out. And the other thing I need to do is actually get the hose connected, because both my water butts are, well, one's completely empty and one's not far off, and it's just easier to use those sometimes for watering than it is just to get the hose out. So I'm going to go through and get the hose and fill up the empty water butt and top up the other one, and then just leave the hose out, I think, because if this weather holds, I'm going to need to do a lot more watering during the week than I normally do. That's about it. Hope you're having a good weekend, and I'll speak to you soon.